Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for December 1st, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday and got some good rest, probably overate. And, well, hopefully you are ready for another wild week in the market. So, how about we take a look at what has happened or what has happened overnight. First off, if we take a look at Asian markets were mixed but mostly lower. Australia down 0.57% or 48.90 overnight. Hong Kong rallied 174.37 or 0.67%. South Korea was modestly lower by $6.22 or 0.16%. The Nikkei fell $950.63, 1.89% lower. India was down 27.20 or 0.10%. In Shanghai, moved up by 25.41 or 0.65% last night. Let's take a look at what we've got going on here in European markets this morning. The DAX this morning is decidedly bearish at the moment, down $330 dollars this morning, or 1.38%. FTSE is lower by $10.41, 0.10%, and the CAC is down 65.27 or 0.80% here this morning. Now, if we take a look at U.S. futures were also red across the board. We have the Dow futures at the moment down 210. Looks like we're trying to take back the Friday stretch to the upside, take it all back here in the pre-market. We have S&P 500 futures down 41.25 this morning, and NASDAQ futures falling by 189.75 here this morning. Let's take a look at what we have going on in other areas of the market. First off, if we take a look at bonds, we do have bond prices moving to the upside. They're creeping back up as the bets continue to grow on the likelihood of a rate cut coming up, not this week, but next week. If we take a look, the 2-year bond right now is back up there at $3.50. The 10-year is at 4.04%, and the 30-year is at 4.70% this morning, creeping back up in those bonds. Now, if we take a look at our U.S. dollar, as a result is falling this morning. As you can see, our dollar breaking this upside trend in here, pulling back, losing some price support in the chart. We've got some price support back in here that could still catch us, but at the moment, feeling a little bit on the bearish side in that U.S. dollar. Right now, the dollar is down 23 cents this morning, so keep an eye on that. Now, as a result of that, gold is strengthening this morning. We've got gold moving higher, up 36.10 an ounce here this morning, and actually still continuing to try and push a little bit higher just at the moment. If we take a look at silver, also pushing higher this morning, up almost 88 cents at 58.04 an ounce here. Big stretch in that silver as we continue to set record highs here. If we take a look at copper, We've got copper moving up this morning by about 2 cents. COPX, as you can see, breaking back above resistance here in the chart. Platinum this morning stretching higher by 29.60 or 1.76%, gapping up, and palladium is also showing some bullishness here this morning, pushing up to challenge resistance here in the chart on PALL, 22.70 an ounce higher here this morning. So showing some strength in those cryptos. Now, when we take a look at, not cryptos, on precious metals, when we take a look at those cryptos, however, pretty rough morning. Bitcoin this morning falling hard, down 5.43%, 4,956.32 a coin coming off here today. If we take a look at Ether is also down significantly, 185.66 or 6.11% lower. In Solana, continuing to follow suit here, down $10.10 or 7.37% here this morning. So a lot of bearishness showing up in those cryptos here this morning, and they are red across the board. Let's take a look at what's going on in oil. Now, if we take a look at USO here, USO is moving higher this morning. There's a little bit of worry on supply, and we've got oil moving up by 67.5 cents a barrel, 59.22.5 a barrel on oil futures. Brent crude's coming in at 63.19, and natural gas, after quite a run to the upside, pulling back just a little bit. Just nice little stretch up, gap up, now just resting a little bit, and right now down 6 cents on natural gas. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in, let's buckle up, and let's get ready for the Monday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Let's dig in and look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be. We want to focus in on the details and try to see how we might want to approach them and shake off that bias so that we're not just so convinced in one direction or another. We take a look at both sides. First off, let's take a look at what we've got going on to the diamonds. Remarkable run back to the upside. Actually kind of a silly run back to the upside as everyone piled back into big tech, and we didn't really get great participation in this rally to the upside. It was just a handful of companies. Now, if you take a look at the volume here, volume continued to fall as we rallied to the upside. So not a big surprise where we could get that big reversal coming in here like we're seeing in the pre-market this morning. We'll see if that holds, however. If the bulls have anything to say, breaking through this resistance and back above this trend is a really good sign for those bulls. If we can pull back in here and hold, then every reason to believe we can stretch right back on up, see if we can break through some of these resistance levels and be up here searching for that new record high in the diamonds. Certainly a possibility. Now, if the bears were to have anything to continue to say here today, the question would be whether this will hold. If we fail back down through this trend and resistance or support in the chart, will create kind of a evening star type pattern if that were to be the case. So that adds a little bit of worry, and that little possibility of that lower high still sets up here in the diamond. So watch that carefully. Now we are back well above our 50-day moving average. So the reason I'm bringing that up is if we were to continue to fail, you can see we could come all the way back down into here to retest that 50-day moving average. So that would mean breaking these support levels, continuing that push on down, even breaking down through that area of support in the chart to come back to that 50-day. We really got carried away in that stretch or rush to the upside. So watch that carefully. But remember, even if that were to occur, we still have that possibility that that creates a higher low. Even though we have the same situation up here of a lower high, we could have a higher low in the market. So we're really going to have to stay focused on this and that possibility of volatility. I know there's huge anticipation of an end of year rally, that Santa Claus rally that everyone counts on. We'll see if that will come into play here this year or not. So watch that carefully. If we take a look at our SPY, SPY, also big stretch here on very much declining and weak volume overall. This morning, catching a little bit of pullback that's going to take all of Friday back in that chart. Let's see in this pullback if it can hold. We broke this downtrend. Let's see if we can hold it as support. So push back in here. If we were to break below that candle there, however, I think there's that chance we could fill this gap in here. So watch carefully if that candle gives up some support. If those bears were to push on down through there, we could fill that gap pretty quickly and come back into this area of price support. So watch that carefully on the bearish side. If the bulls have anything to say, pushing right on through and back to the upside here. Let's see if we can test this area up here, breaking through that resistance, and then we have that opportunity that we could stretch out for all-time highs here in the SPY. Remember, we did break well above that 50-day moving average. If the bears were to really get going, that's going to be ultimate level of price support right now, down around here, around that 50-day moving average. If we take a look at our QQQ, now QQQ was doing the majority of the work of this rally back to the upside, also reversing Friday in here this morning on that pullback. If the bears were to continue to push in here, we've got some good support right in here. That's still above that trend break here. So if we caught in here, no problems, and then we can start stretching back up. If we could break through Friday's high, then possibly we could reach up here into that area of the chart, and then we've got a big gap in here that could be filled as we stretch on back up to try and re-attack all-time highs. A failure in here, however, could get a little bit worrisome if it breaks back down below that area of price support. Notice this gap in here that could be filled. We can move fairly quickly in that bearish move, but even that is still going to hold on to this upside trend. So if we can find some support in here, remember, we could make that higher low here in the chart in a push back up. Let's hope we can get a little bit of volume to start showing up in these charts. And then if we've got IWM in our sights, IWM, big stretch to the upside, broke through this resistance here in the chart, which puts us in that situation. We could really see if we can hold some support in this area that we could press right on through, maybe see some all-time highs coming into play here in IWM if we can hold that area. If, however, the bears have anything more to say on this, breaking this down in the chart, we've got some pretty good support right in here. If we push down into there, breaking right on through into this area, support is possible as well if they really get going. But we have moved this so much up off that 50-day moving average. Even a test right here, the 50-day moving average, and hold could bring us back into that bullish fold. I think if we failed there, however, that's going to be a complication for us in the market. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX dropped hard. Now what's interesting is our VIX dropped so hard here on very low volume. It makes me wonder if we can trust what we've got going on in here. But the good thing at the moment is that we've held this price support. So if the bulls can really get something going here, then we're going to need to break this area of support. Now, keeping in mind, we're back down here testing recent lows when we were making new record highs in this area here, and we haven't made record highs yet. So maybe in a little bit of an overconfidence push heading into the holiday. Watch that carefully, particularly if the market takes a lot of that gain back here quickly. So watch that carefully. Now, if the bears have anything to say, where to push, well, we can push right back up through this area and then start stretching up toward this trend and resistance area in the chart. Watch this area up here. If we break above there, I think we could have a little bit of concern in the market as fear comes back. So watch that carefully here. Our T2122 indicator in here is pretty interesting in the fact that we went from a bearish oversold condition straight up to an extreme up here on the bullish side. So shouldn't be too much of a surprise if we get a resting pullback. The question is, will the bulls have enough tenacity to hold on with this breadth situation that we've been dealing with here in the market? Just not enough momentum and breadth. We're going to need more than just a few stocks to hold this market up. So watch that carefully. If we were to pull back in here, just realizing we've got a lot of room for the bears to move today, we don't have a whole lot of room for those bulls. So keep that in mind here this morning. If we take a look at T2108, percentage of stocks above the 40-day, boy, they really pushed this straight back up, back above 50% here. So that's good news for those bulls. If they can hold that area here, holding that 50% area, that's a psychological area on T2108. So watch closely there if they can hold. If the bears, however, were to have anything to say, I'm not sure it's going to be any kind of tragic situation for a pullback here as long as we hold on to some of these areas of price support above 40% here. I think if we got back down through there, that whipsaw in here could really raise some concerns. The other thing you want to pay attention to is we had this downtrend here in the chart. We're really coming into contact with that as well. So a little rest, a little pullback shouldn't be too much of a surprise or out of the question. The question is whether supports will hold. T2107 in this stretch back up, pushing back up. You'll see in here also back up here testing that downtrending area. And T2107 just snuck above 50% here on Friday as we continue to stretch on that relatively low volume situation. If the bears have anything to say here and start pushing us back, well, just keep in mind we've got some good areas of price support in here around the mid 40s. Good strong price support around 40 in here if we were to push back into there. So watch that area carefully. If the bulls can continue to push on through here, watch for some of that resistance up in here above in T2107. If we take a look at T2101, we did get that push. What's interesting is we saw that breadth on Friday when we had no volume. So really strange in here in T2101. So watch that carefully here as we continue to try and push this on higher and see if we can break through this area. And maybe maybe the bulls are just really that strong here that we can push just a few stocks and everybody's going to be really, really happy in the market. We'll see. Watch that carefully here today on T2101. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got a little bit here to be concentrating on this week. First off, we're going to start this week with a PMI manufacturing number this morning at 9:45 Eastern. They're looking for a 51.9, slight decline from the prior in here, so watch that carefully on that. ISM, looking for that to go higher to 49 here this morning. Let's see, they were 48.7 last time, so a nice little modest increase on ISM would be helpful. Construction spending, they're looking for construction spending to decline to a 0.1 from a 0.2 here this morning. And then we've got bond auctions, a 3 and 6 month bond auction in here. Looking into Tuesday, there's not much in here on Tuesday to worry about. We've got a bond auction in here. Then Wednesday, we're going to pick up with mortgage apps. The ADP report will be out. This is going to be an interesting week as we get into some of these jobs numbers that we have been so way behind on. So kind of keep an eye on ADP. We've got import-export prices, industrial production. It says that they're going to be delayed. We may have a chance of getting those this week. We've got a PMI composite, ISM services, petroleum status in here. On Thursday, we've got international trade numbers that will be out, and jobless claims numbers to be paying attention to. And then, of course, personal incomes and outlays. That is the Fed's favorite number. Whether or not we're going to get that, you can see they say it's delayed, but we've had several of these here lately say delayed, and we get them. Whether we can trust the number, that's a different story because of all the miscalculations and catch up on those calculations. We've got consumer sentiment in here, factory orders, Baker Hughes, and a credit, consumer credit to be paying attention to on Friday. On the earnings side of things, we don't have a whole lot going on here today. There are no notable earnings for this morning. And as a matter of fact, we do have just one earnings report here today, but it's HAF, and it is not particularly notable. Trades very low volume here. That's the only earnings report for today. This afternoon, this morning anyway. This afternoon, we've got CRDO that's a notable for this afternoon to be paying attention to. We've got MDB that we'll be reporting, and VSTS. Those are your notables for this afternoon. And of course, and it's pretty common, we will wind up here. Thursday will be probably our biggest day of earnings, and we do have quite a few notables here for this week, even though we're running through kind of the tail end of earnings. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thanks so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly, truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. And remember, these are not any kind of a recommendation at all. Make sure you're doing your own due diligence on every trade. Planning carefully in a market like this is essential. So make sure you understand the risks and plan carefully into every trade. Let's take a look at TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor. Interesting chart here. We're trying to sneak out from underneath this downtrend, pushing up, and notice we're pushing up and then pulling back. That sets up one of my favorite patterns in the chart. If we can hold this higher low in here, then you start looking for that push on through and we resume an upside trend. So watch that carefully here in TSM. Might be something to pay attention to. Take a look at NCLH. Now NCLH has been very, very bearish here in the market, continuing to fall, breaking through lots of support levels here in the chart. This rally back up does concern me. If I stretch this trend on down here, it does concern me on this rally back up, particularly with the bearishness here this morning, that this might be the next opportunity to short Norwegian cruise. Keep an eye on that. Not looking so good in there. If we take a look at CCL, we're certainly not showing bullishness here in Carnival. And if we take a look at RCL also struggling. And with that rally back up here to resistance, this right in here, when we rally back after stretching down and we're coming into that downtrend, those are areas I want to watch for that next potential short to the downside. So keep an eye on those. If we take a look at HYG in here, HYG, big move in these corporate bonds and stretching back up. Now the key here, as you can see, we're gapping substantially lower here this morning. Can we hold? Can we catch an area of price support in here and hold or not? Nasty reversal here today as we pushed up into that little downtrending area. So watch that carefully. If we can grab on in here and hold, continue to hang in here, then there's still that chance that this could push right back on up. Watch that carefully. If, however, those bears continue to push and we fail this area here, we could rest it and start moving right back on down in HYG. So watch that one closely as well. Some big moves happening here in the market today. This FFAI, little bit of a rally to the upside, trying to stretch through that downtrend. Keep an eye on this. If that can hold in here again, we have that opportunity that could resume an upside trend if that can hold. Watch that carefully here. But we're also right at that point where we have significant resistance above. If we can't show that strength, this might just end up being the continuation on down. Just like here, we stretched up, run into that area, and we just can't hold on. So watch that carefully. Take a look at Procter. Procter has been trying to come up out of this bottom. You can see there's that first higher low, and that's where that trend kind of resumes. But we struggled with lots of resistance up here, pulling back hard and still resting in here. If those bulls can get going, there is that opportunity. We could push this back on through. And I know this is that consumer defensive sector in the charts. And we've been seeing quite a few of those showing bullishness. Take a look at Coke as a matter of example in here. Nice stretch back up here in Coke, breaking through this resistance here in the chart. Any rest or pullback, I think, may have an opportunity there for Coke. If we take a look at PepsiCo, PepsiCo's trying to make that move out of this wedging pattern with that higher low. If it can pop on through, I'd keep an eye on that. Take a look at Hershey here. Hershey's made quite a run. This needs a rest at the moment, but here's that consumer defensive area, that big dividend type payer stock coming back around. So we'll want to watch those carefully. What this might mean is a little bit of rotation into these stocks. If we can hold up in here, then I would look for that next opportunity in Hershey. Take a look at Schmucker's trying to come up out of this bottom. This has struggled an awful lot. And I think this rally back up could easily, we made a new low here. we could rally back up here into resistance, and that becomes the lower high here in Schmuckers. So that's not a good one to be paying attention to. But I think Kroger is. Kroger making that higher low in here, albeit quite volatile in this move, trying to push back up. A little bit of rest in here might set up that additional opportunity to the upside. Things like Kraft Heinz making that move out of this bottom, breaking through the downtrend, pushing up, setting up subsequent higher lows in here. So we're seeing some of that defensive sector area making some good moves. Take a look at Colgate-Palmolive. Nice little hold of a higher low in here. Inverted head and shoulders pattern, starting to push back up. A lot of those defensive stocks are starting to come around and look rather interesting here in the charts. Let's take a look at some of the energy out here. If we take a look at XLE energy stocks, nice push in here. Coming back up, and with that little bit of concern on supply, you might want to drop into this sector. There's probably some really good stocks starting to set up in here in that energy sector. Devon's still stretching. Keep an eye on some of those, some good patterns in that sector. If we take a look at the financials had a major stretch back up. We're slamming into a big area of resistance here in those major financials. But if you take a look in here, there's going to be opportunities setting up. Any kind of little rest or pullback as we push back up could set up those opportunities for a higher low in that push back to the upside. I would keep a close eye on those. You might want to keep an eye on things in uranium. Uranium's had quite a pullback here in the market, but it's not going to go away with AI. We're just going to really get going here, I think, in uranium. So watch that carefully, breaking through this downtrend. If we can hold up in here after crossing back above that support, I would watch that. You might find some opportunity in CCJ, URA, trying to break through that downtrend here as well. Might be trying to catch that higher low in here. Worth paying attention to. Pop that downtrend in here in that chart. Excuse me. There it is. Trying to pop that downtrend here in the chart, but getting back above this area of resistance, if that holds in here, may have that opportunity. Could also just run into this downtrend in here and then continue selling in that chart. And then UEC, this is one that I hold, and I'm planning on holding this longer term. In that weekly chart, started to come apart here and make me a little bit worried, but watch that. Still trying to come back up, so keep an eye on some of these uranium plays. Telecommunications might be an interesting place to be paying attention to as well. Again, not in the defensive sector, but in that area of really strong, high-paying dividend stocks. AT&T looking pretty good in there, worth paying attention to. Verizon has been coming back up to challenge this downtrend. Let's see if we can pop through that. T-Mobile also made a move up here, tried to break that downtrend, pulled back. We still have that opportunity for a little higher low, and you can see we had a nice little pop there on Friday. Again, we're looking at some of those strong dividend payer type companies, so watch that carefully. Now, having said that, also remember today is Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday always brings in that opportunity where there's a lot of distraction here. And we also have that situation where people will be traveling back from their holiday. And so it's really possible it could be very light, choppy volume here today. So be kind of careful, plan your trades carefully, make sure you have a plan to protect yourself. And I want to wish you all a very, very good day. We'll see you right back here bright and early Tuesday morning. And as always, wishing you all the very best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire mark. Where I'd ways my ranch on the trader's trail, trading with heart where the profits prevail.